An applause like that means to me that you know how good Jesus is, yeah? So, the reason that song means so much to me, and some of you know this story, but my life sort of just bottomed out a few years ago, and my marriage fell apart, and my husband left, and we were headed for divorce, and 1 second you'd think it couldn't get any worse, and then it would, and it was the first real time in my life that I felt what really hopeless feels like. I thought I knew, but everything else sort of seemed like a cakewalk until that point in my life. And if you can imagine, just from a visual standpoint, sort of my life kind of going up in flames. And the aftermath of all that was just a bunch of ash and soot and smoke. And smoke is not breathable, and ash is not worth anything. But there is a poem by Emily Dickinson that says, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul, and it sings a tune without the words and never stops at all." And the reason that poem means so much to me, I put it in my book where I tell my whole story, is because Jesus died on the cross and then he rose from the grave. And resurrection is not just something that we talk about at Easter. Resurrection is a living, breathing, happening every single day kind of thing. And because of that, there's always hope. And so there I was, kind of the end of myself, because so much of why we were separated and headed in that direction was because of my self-centeredness. And when I deserved, I talked to some of you in the Q&A about this, but when I deserved God's finger in my face saying, this is what narcissism and selfishness gets you, I didn't see that finger in my face. I felt his arms around me say, I died for you so that you could have infinite second chances with me. So if you want to start over, I've already forgiven you. And that moment in my life, in my kitchen, I will never forget. And I surrendered for the first real time. Surrender is an action. It's not just something you talk about. Like where I said, not my will, but yours. I'm willing to do whatever you ask. And when he answered that, the first thing he told me to do was to shut up. That was the first thing. James 1:19, which is be slow to speak and quick to listen, which gave birth to this next song. But the best part of that story is that 18 months after we separated, it's just the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me, is that evil was just put right in his place. Because God doesn't need our permission, and he also doesn't need us, but he wants us, and he wants our permission to fight for us. And when I surrendered to that and I gave him the gloves, he took them off. And we remarried each other all over again 18 months later. And so this is the song called Smoke.